Hi everyone, and welcome to the third video of this series. In this video, we will understand what is cloud and what is cloud computing. We will do three things to understand that. We'll first go through the need of the cloud, how it get in the business of IT or in the other businesses. Then we'll move to what was the benefit of virtualization that we already discussed in the previous video. Then we will move to how cloud actually solved our problems. So let's start the video, and first let's try to understand what was the need of the cloud. So let's say earlier in the 90s or in the early 2000s, how IT business was conducted. Suppose you want to make a new business and you want to make a website out of it. You have a clothing company and you want to open a clothing website and sell your clothes online to all the customers. So how you are supposed to do that? You have to buy certain infrastructure or set up certain infrastructure. What do you mean by infrastructure? As in, you need to buy servers, you need to buy storage, you need to buy databases, you need to buy operating systems. All these things you have to buy it yourself, and then you have to set it up yourself. And imagine you are investing 1 crore rupees on it and your business doesn't work. Well, that's a failure. Well, that will make a loss of a huge money, right? So that's one problem. And now let's come to other part. When you are setting up this infrastructure, you also need to make usage of routers, switches, servers. I hope you understood servers from our first video. You need to buy networking equipment. You need to buy a space in which you can set up your infrastructure, right? So now comes the other problem that if you want these components to work perfectly, you have to maintain a certain temperature as well. In your infrastructure space setup, let's say it is set up in a room, let's say it is set up in some floor or some basement, you need to maintain the temperature of that environment as well. So that was another cost. Another thing that used to come is that when you have installed or bought physical servers, you need to buy an operating system. And operating system, there are a lot of options back at that time. Let's say you had Windows, you had Linux, you had Mac OS, you had Ubuntu. So you have to buy the license for them as well. You have to pay for the license. That's another expense. Now to install and to manage all this infrastructure, you need highly skilled people as well. You need to have your server administrators. You need to have people who are skilled in databases. You need to have people who are very good with operating systems and networking concepts, because you need to connect all those equipments to make them work. So that's another expense that was happening. And considering all this, imagine if the business didn't work. What would you do? You cannot return those equipments as well, that okay, my business is not working, let me just return those equipment. That also don't work. So considering all these problems of infrastructure, we need a solution. Cool. So now I think we are understanding what was the problem back then. Earlier in our IT industry, what was the problem? So now the problem is clear. Let's understand how we solved it. So to understand how we solve it, let's try to understand benefits of virtualization. Okay, so what were the benefits? I already explained what is virtualization is. That suppose you have a physical server of 50 GB RAM. See, the servers are like supercomputers, so they are not like our personal computer. So it has a lot of RAM. It might have 100 GB of RAM as well, but I'm taking an example of 50 GB RAM for now. Let's say it has 32 CPU cores So it was a very supercomputer that can perform an efficient operations. So you installed your business application. Let's say you have a clothing company. Let's take an example of clothing company. You have a clothing company and you need to install the website of that clothing company onto your servers. What do you need? You need some server tool like Apache. Okay, first you will install that on your physical machine, and even before that you need to install OS on your physical machine. Then you will install this tool that will give you the capability of installing a server or running a server. Then you will install your application on it. Okay, and what was the problem that we discussed in the earlier video? If our application is taking only 4 gigs of RAM, we are wasting our resources. Okay, now what was the solution we discussed? We discussed a solution named as virtualization, that in our physical server we will first install a hypervisor, then we will install an OS, then we will logically partition our physical machine into different virtual machines. So how did it benefited us? That first we can install one app here, the other app 2 here in the VM 2. In the VM1 we installed VM app 1, app 3 we will install in VM 3, then app 4 in VM 4. Similarly, we utilized our resource. Okay. Now, how did this virtualization thing helped us in the earlier problem we discussed of expenses? That imagine you have this one physical machine and you need to install 5 apps. Earlier, without virtualization, you have to buy 5 physical machines, separate machines. Okay, so those 5 physical separate machine would cost you a lot of money. But what virtualization did is it created 5 virtual machines, and now you can install 5 different apps on one single physical machine. So how did it help us? It helped us in less servers. Cost of servers is decreased. Okay, then it helped in less skilled employees, because now you have one physical machine, so you will need only 2-3 people to manage all this. It reduces space or requirements to maintain server temperature. So all in all, our expenses were saved. Now you would ask, we were trying to understand cloud and cloud computing. So how did we reach here? See, I'm trying to make a point here. By going step by step, we understood the problem. We understood how virtualization helped us in making that problem a little bit better. Now, how cloud come in is, imagine we have a company name as Apple. Let's take an example of Apple. Now, Apple have different teams all around the world. Now, tell me that if we have a physical machine and 5 apps running on that one single machine and 5 teams, all of them want to manage or install something on those virtual machines, how do we access that? How do those teams sitting thousands of miles apart from each other, thousands of miles apart from our infrastructure that is physical, because since it is physical infrastructure, it will be set up at a physical location. So it is not possible that every team is there near the physical infrastructure, because to access physical machine we have to put some USB into it, or we need to physically connect with that machine. So that was the problem that was there with the virtualization thing. And how did we solve it? We solved it using cloud. So how cloud solved it? We took our infrastructure and we connect it with the internet. Now this access over the internet is called cloud. It's nothing different. It's the same physical servers, but it is being connected over the internet and we are able to access it remotely from anywhere in the world. That's cloud. So the major players of cloud these days are AWS, Azure, and GCP. So these three companies provide public and private cloud for you to access. So you do not need to set up all these infrastructure yourself. You just use their infrastructure and install your machine and pay as you go and pay as much as you utilize the resources. So let's try to let's try to sum up with the definition of cloud. So cloud computing is the delivery of computing services, servers, storage, databases, networking tools, and software over the internet. I hope you understood what is cloud and what is cloud computing through this journey and through this video. So I believe what is cloud and what is cloud computing is now clear, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.